two young women shot in cold blood.
This is not random gunfire. It's directed at their heads. Now that is a clear demonstration of intent.
We were stumped. It was such a bloody crime in a part of town that you really wouldn't expect that.
When police discover another victim, Lieutenant Joe Kenda may have a career case on his hands.
The public was very concerned over 3 women dead in that close a period of time. The coincidence is just so great.
I've always thought there's no such thing as a coincidence. They are always suspicious. They happen more than once, they become evidence. People don't like the police. They like firemen. They absolutely love firemen. They shoot at the police. They are angry with police because they're afraid of the police. It's the way things are. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
January 8th, 1995. It's a sleepy Sunday night at the Lair Lounge on the west side of Colorado Springs.
There was a jukebox, and it was in use frequently. It was rock and roll, so it was loud.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Gotta take trash now. I'll be back.
A faint sound grabs the bartender's attention.
She heard what she thought to be moaning coming from the area of the back door.
Across town, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is spending his Sunday night honing his firearm skills.
I carry a version of a 1911 A1 45 automatic built by Kimber of Yonkers, New York. I consider it to be the most accurate weapon I've ever fired.
But a page from dispatch tells Kenda that target practice is over. He's needed ASAP on the city's west side. The Lair Lounge is lit up like its last call, and so is the parking lot.
How you doing, Lieutenant?
How you doing? Who's the responding officer?
The officer with the coffee right there.
Thank you.
My habit is to speak to the first officer on the scene. He usually has the cleanest view and gets the greatest statements from anyone.
How you doing, sir?
Good, how you doing?
Pretty good.
You were the first on the scene?
Yes, sir. When I got here, there were 2 females over there, front seat of that car.
Once medical arrived on scene, they determined right away that the passenger was still alive and breathing.
They transported the passenger to the hospital, but she died. The driver, they pronounced dead at the scene.
The driver is 29-year-old Michelle Veal. She leaves behind a husband and 2 young sons.
Michelle was a good person, a kind person, a free spirit. Whatever happened in her life, Nikki had a mind of her own, and she always had such a quick wit. I adored her. I thought, I just loved her bubbly personality, always smiling, You could be having a bad day, she could walk in the room smiling, and, you start feeling that way.
How were the 2 young women killed? To Kenda, the answer is written all over the vehicle.
A lot of blood. When I was 20 feet away from that car, I knew it was a gunshot. taking a bullet that's traveling supersonic, entering into the human body, producing a mist of blood called high-velocity blood spatter. The only thing that produces it are bullets.
When we got here, the doors were closed, but EMS had to open them up so that they could take care of the victims.
Let's hope they didn't disturb too much evidence.
Michelle Vigil has been shot in the head. Reports from the hospital indicate the second victim suffered similar injuries.
Were the windows rolled down?
Yes, sir.
Well, by the look of the wound, she was shot from the driver's side.
Police confirm Kenda's hunch. They've found 2 9mm casings near Michelle's body.
The keys are still in ignition. It's apparent that they were sitting in this car as if they were either preparing to leave or that they just arrived when shots are fired.
What no one at the scene can figure out is who would target these women for such a horrific crime, and why.
We were stumped. It was such a bloody gangland-style crime in a part of town that you really wouldn't expect that. The first thing you come up with was money.
Studying the vehicle, Kenda uncovers the answer to that question.
So when I'm looking at this car, I see the windows are rolled down. They're not going to have the windows down on a January night in Colorado. But they would if someone approached that car to speak to them. This is no random act. This is not an attempted robbery. The purpose is to kill one or both of these women.
Somebody was angry at these women. You gotta find out now why.
Kenda's in luck. It turns out Patrol already has a friend of the victims waiting to be questioned.
When the first officer arrived on scene, he noticed a patron from the bar walk up to the victim's car.
Shirley, you need to get back.
That's my girlfriend there.
There's help on the way, man. Just get back, all right? Come on.
The man complied, waiting anxiously for the paramedics to arrive.
There he's waiting right over there for you.
Kenda hopes the man can tell him more about the women in the car and why they might have been murdered.
Valentino?
Yeah, that's me.
Well, his name is Valentino Garcia. He knows both these girls, and they've both been murdered. He is very distraught.
The woman who died at the hospital is identified as 30-year-old Shirley Harper Swally. Divorced for several years, Shirley leaves behind 2 young daughters.
My mom was a very giving person. She always wanted the house to be full, and she always wanted fun things happening, and she always wanted laughter and things like that.
Just a very likable person. Could fall in love with her in no time. That's Shirley.
Can you tell me how you knew the victims?
Yeah, I know Shirley and Michelle.
What was your relationship with Shirley? During the investigation, it was revealed that Valentino Garcia was kind of interested in Shirley and had wanted to date her.
In fact, Valentino says earlier that afternoon, Shirley and Michelle stopped by his house to hang out. He used the opportunity to make his move.
Shirley, I'm just wondering, maybe we can get together for some drinks sometime.
I would love that. I need to talk to Gino.
She said, well, maybe we can talk about that, but not right now. I have this boyfriend, Gino, and I've got problems with him.
She kept saying that he's controlling and possessive.
Really? Well, I like that.
You know, he's crazy. You don't know him, and I don't want anything to happen to you. He's very jealous, and everybody's really worried about this, especially Michelle Vigil. She doesn't like this guy. She has a bad feeling about him.
Don't worry about Gino. I can handle that. I can handle him.
You're so sweet.
According to Valentino, Shirley seemed unsure of what to do, so she asked Michelle to talk things over at the Lair Lounge.
That's why I came down here to the Lair, to meet up with her and just talk to her some more.
So now we have this interesting specter, this Gino. Mysterious Gino, possessive, scary kind of guy. Murders are driven by emotion. Emotion gone wild. What if he suspects that Shirley's potential romance with Garcia is in fact current?
Oh, we're gonna do everything we can to find out who did it.
That's Gino right there.
Well, how convenient.
Kenda takes one look at Gino and gets a bad vibe.
When I saw him get out of that van, all my alert signals went off in my head. Pay attention to this guy. Get a balanced position. Make sure your weapon is clear. You unconsciously do those things. You're prepared to either fight or draw a gun, because he looks like the kind of fellow you might have to do that with. We have 2 dead women, multiple gunshot wounds in a car behind a bar. One of these women has a jealous, confrontive boyfriend, and he conveniently arrives while we're still standing at the crime scene.
That's Gino right there.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his men approach Shirley's boyfriend with extreme caution.
When Gino got out of that van, he had the look. And when I say the look, I mean a guy who I think can take care of himself, that probably has a gun.
Gino, I'm Detective Kenda.
Let's find out, where have you been for the last hour or so?
I'm just looking for somebody.
Who are you looking for?
A friend.
Gino has obviously been talked to by police in the past. He is evasive.
Listen, we had a double shooting here. Someone you know got hurt. You come pulling up out of the blue in my crime scene?
You know what all that adds up to, don't you, Gino? It adds up to one word: suspect. And that, my man, would be you. That got through to him. And he says, all right, I get it. Well, good, Gino. You have a frightening grasp of the obvious.
Where were you the last 3 hours?
I've been at a party.
The people at this party will verify you were there? Give me the names and numbers.
Here's a pad, here's a pencil.
Gino writes down the names of the individuals he claims will vouch for him. As Kenda's men head out in search, Gino explains how he ended up at the crime scene.
He said, Shirley and I were supposed to have dinner tonight. And she was supposed to page me to tell me when to meet her.
He was concerned because he didn't hear from her.
Gino tells Kenda he got worried when people at the party started talking about a shooting at the Lair Lounge.
Word travels on the streets quickly. One person makes a phone call to somebody else, he makes a phone call to 2 or 3 other people.
She's dead, ain't she?
They transported to the hospital, she didn't make it. I'm sorry.
Gino gets very emotional, very, very upset. Seemed to be pretty genuine to me. It really hit him that this girl is gone.
Meanwhile, Kenda's detectives report back that Gino's alibi checks out.
It's enough to convince me that I don't think he's the guy.
With Gino crossed off the suspect list, Kenda wonders if Shirley's ex-husband might somehow be involved.
When people become involved with each other, they're emotionally attached, they're married, they have children, and things go awry. Emotions can become quite raw.
But it turns out Shirley's ex-husband, Sean Harper, lives an hour away with their 2 daughters and was at home with them at the time of the crime. Moreover, Sean is devastated by the news of Shirley's death.
Quite honestly, my very first thought was, how am I possibly going to tell my kids? At the time, Janelle was 10.
My father was sitting in the living room looking at me very intensely. The first thing that came out of my dad's mouth was, I love you. And then he went in to tell me that some bad people had just gotten a hold of my mom and that she was gone. It was pure shock.
Explaining that to her was the hardest thing I've ever done as a parent. Or no.
Back at the Lair Lounge, Kenda puzzles over the details of the crime.
This is not random gunfire, it's directed at their heads. Now that is a clear demonstration of intent.
Your first thought is, was somebody upset with both of them, or just one of them?
The odds are that 2 people cannot engender that kind of hatred and then be together and die for it. The odds are one is hated, and and the other had the misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Having largely ruled out the men in Shirley Harper Swaley's life, Kenda wonders if the driver, Michelle Vigil, might have been the intended target.
I sent 2 detectives to notify Michelle's family, a perfectly normal household that suddenly struck with lightning.
Yeah? I'm Detective Grant. This is Detective Freeman. Do you mind if we come in for a minute?
Sure, Kate. What's this about?
There was a shooting this evening at the Lair Lounge. Your wife, Michelle, was killed.
She's 29 years old, and her life's been taken, and her husband is devastated by this. Absolutely devastated.
Becky had 2 sons. I believe the older son was around 4, the younger was around 2 when they lost their mother.
I can't imagine what Ernie went through. And I can't imagine what her 2 sons went through. Can't even imagine, because to me, I think when a parent is taken away from a young child, it's got to be so very devastating.
Though Michelle's husband is shell-shocked, detectives must question him about her life, hoping to find the motive behind her murder.
She didn't live the lifestyle that I thought would have caused this to happen to her. It just didn't seem real.
Can you tell us about the last time you saw Michelle?
I saw Michelle this morning, and she was going to give her friend Shirley a ride.
He explained that Shirley's car had recently been stolen, and Michelle would give her rides and pick her up and take her places.
Michelle told Ernie that Shirley had been going through a tough time, so Michelle wanted to spend the day with her to cheer her up.
Mickey was always looking out for other people. She was a loyal friend. If you needed an ear to listen, she would be there if you had problems. She would actually listen and tell you what she thought.
That's when Ernie Vigil unloads a bombshell on detectives, one that totally changes their perspective.
Yeah, well, Shirley's been having a lot of problems.
What problems specifically?
According to Michelle, she's been struggling with some cocaine addiction.
Murder cases become enormously complicated when drugs get involved. Drugs are so powerful that they literally drive people to do things they would never otherwise do. You don't pay your source. You rip off drugs from other people. You do all kinds of things to get the drug you want to use. In the process, you leave a trail of prime suspects behind you.
While pondering this development, Kenda recalls something he saw on the news. A homicide in the county just northeast of Colorado Springs. It, too, was drug-related.
And a young girl shot in the head in Elbert County. 4 days later, we have 2 young women shot in the head in Colorado Springs. They are similar cases.
Could Colorado Springs PD and the Elbert County Sheriff's Office be hunting the same killer?
When this girl is discovered in Elbert County, it's a UPS truck. He's out there in the middle of the boonies making a delivery somewhere and finds the body.
I smell something. It smelled awful.
All right.
So that's when I looked over there and I saw her.
The victim was 24-year-old Sherry Holmes, who was also rumored to have drug problems. And like Shirley and Michelle, Sherry Holmes met a violent death.
She had 6 gunshot wounds to the head. Somebody is very serious about making certain she is dead.
But according to detectives in Elbert County, that's not all the killer did.
She was covered in several pounds of peanut butter, smeared over her body post-mortem. That is a Mexican cartel trick. They want the body disposed of. So they spread peanut butter on the remains to attract bears, coyotes, any other animal that will come and eat this body or drag it off where it's not going to be ever discovered or found.
There is strong evidence that Sherry Holmes was taken out by someone in the drug world, possibly with connections to Mexican cartels. Is it possible that same killer is behind the double homicide at the Lair Lounge?
I've always thought there's no such thing as a coincidence. They are always suspicious. They happen more than once, they become evidence.
If that's the case, then Kenda's killer is far more dangerous than anyone had realized.
We need to find this person. If he or she can do this, they can certainly do this again. At this stage of this case, we have two dead women, Shirley and Michelle. One of those young ladies has a drug problem. That distresses me because it widens my field of suspects.
The mystery only deepens when Lieutenant Joe Kenda learns that nearby Elbert County is investigating a similar shooting that happened just 4 days earlier.
The public was very concerned over 3 women dead in that close a period of time. The coincidence is just so great.
Like Shirley Harper Swally, the victim in Elbert County, Sherry Holmes, is believed to have had a drug problem. Kenda needs to find out if either woman had any enemies in the local drug world. To do so, he again calls on someone intimately familiar with Shirley's circle of friends, her boyfriend, Gino Jaquez.
Thanks again for coming back so soon. Do you know Sherry Holmes?
Is that the girl they found killed over in Elbert County?
It is.
Kinda. Shirley knew her, but I didn't really know her that well.
You know anything about her murder?
Oh, no. I just knew that she was a snitch.
How'd you know that?
Oh, just word on the street. I've heard that for weeks now.
As far as Shirley goes, was she using drugs?
Well,
listen, I'm just trying to solve a murder.
She did have a cocaine problem.
He says that Shirley likes cocaine, that she goes on binges, and this has caused her a lot of problems.
Any enemies she might have had? Any unpaid debts?
She does have a former boyfriend that was a drug dealer.
She used to live with this guy on the west side. His name is James Palachek.
Hey, missing a couple grams. Did you take it?
Leave me alone.
Did you take it?
Yes, so what?
Look, if you take it, I need to know. And I need to get the money for it.
Leave me alone!
When Shirley left James, he claimed she owed him $2,500.
People will kill in the drug world over $20, let alone $2,500.
It's not a good idea to rip off drug dealers.
But according to Gino, James Palachek had already settled the score with Shirley.
A couple weeks ago, her car got stolen, and we all know that he set that up.
That makes you wonder, is James a good choice for this? I mean, he's been ripped off, okay's man. So what's he do about it? Well, he takes something from her. Maybe in his mind it's settled it. Does that still make him a suspect? Sure. But maybe somewhat less of one.
Well, again, I appreciate your help. Thanks.
As Kenda ponders Shirley's problems, he wonders how she wound up living life on the margins of the Colorado Springs drug trade. That question is best answered by Shirley's ex-husband, Sean.
I think Shirley's troubles began with the availability of cocaine. It was the 80s, and it was everywhere.
Drug addiction is a very equal opportunity thing. I mean, how many alcoholic housewives did I know when I was a little kid in the 50s? Unfortunately, she was one of those people that tries something and just likes it way too much.
That stuff just overtook her life. It really just completely turned her into somebody that I didn't even recognize anymore.
I would see my mom on the weekends, and then that got less and less as obviously her problem grew into something bigger.
Drugs chemically reprogram your brain. All of your loyalties, all of your concerns, all of your loved ones, and everything you've ever been fades away into the past. All that matters now is the next high.
Later that night, Kenda checks in with his detectives, who've been questioning the patrons at the Lair Lounge.
Hey, Donnie. What do we got so far?
Well, nobody heard any gunshots or anything like that. The music was too loud.
arguing between the two girls.
The victims?
Yeah, and another customer. And everybody heard that.
All right, is that the bartender?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, bar people are interesting people. They pay attention. They have very good instincts about human nature.
You tell me what happened tonight?
There were these two guys in here, Felipe Ortiz and Paul Palachek.
They're drinking together, and across the bar are Michelle and Shirley, who are also drinking and talking amongst themselves.
It turns out that Paul Palachek is the brother of James Palachek, Shirley's ex-boyfriend.
Did Paul have a problem with Shirley after they broke up?
I think so.
But according to the bartender, Paul Palachek wasn't the one causing trouble.
I know. You know what I need to do? I just...
Yo, where the hell is my money?
Excuse me?
You owe Paul money. He owes me money. You owe me. Where is my money?
Listen, I don't have money. I don't know who you are.
She doesn't owe you money. She doesn't even know you.
Nobody knew what the argument was about, but they said it was pretty intense because Shirley was actually crying.
Look, buddy, I don't know what your problem is, but you're not going to cause a problem here. Go back to your seat or leave.
According to the bartender, half an hour later, Shirley and Michelle got ready to go.
The bartender remembers the girls go out the front door. Paul gets up and goes to the bathroom. And Felipe goes out the front door. Now, that is odd.
Did Felipe Avila Ortiz follow the two women out to the parking lot, then shoot them at point-blank range? Not according to the bartender.
The front doors of this bar are glass, but they're covered mostly with posters advertising what beer is on special today and that sort of thing. But the lower part of the glass is not obstructed. So when Felipe goes out on the porch, the bartender seems to remember that she sees his legs in the lower part of the door.
The bartender tells Kenda that a few minutes later, Felipe came back inside, and Paul returned from the men's room shortly after that.
Then they both decide they're leaving, and they walk out the front door, and that's the last anybody sees.
With Paul in the bathroom and Felipe visible through the front window, it seems neither man could be the shooter. But Kenda's hesitant to scratch them off the list just yet.
Well, I appreciate your help, and everyone's free to go now.
Kenda instructs his men to track down Felipe Avila Ortiz and Paul Palachek. Along the way, officers uncover a disturbing new lead.
Patrol officer working the west side has a guy who comes forward to him, who is a doper. His name is Jason Starks.
Hey, what can I do for you?
I need some protection.
What's going on?
My life's in danger. I got information on those three murders.
According to Jason, rival drug dealers on the west side of Colorado Springs have joined forces to take out several customers.
There was great rumor on the street among people involved with the folks selling and the folks buying that there was a hit list of people who were in trouble with the sellers.
They said, I've seen the list. And Shirley and Michelle's names were on it. And that girl in Albert County, she was on the list too.
When you're getting information that there's a hit list out there and that 3 of the people that have been shot within the last week were on that hit list, you have to take it pretty seriously.
I don't think it'd be a good idea to not pay your debt to a drug dealer. These are serious people, and they do take care of business.
Graham.
Could there be a kernel of truth in there somewhere? Could there be maybe a small list that contains those 3 girls? Now that is possible. Could that work? I think it could. We have a dead girl, Michelle Hill. Her friend Shirley Harper Swally is also dead. Elbert County has a dead girl named Sherry Holmes. Our informant says all 3 of these people's names are on a hit list.
Can you meet the detective at the diner in about an hour? The one up the street. I'm going to stay with you. Yeah.
Is it possible that they're linked? Yeah, it is possible.
But in order to determine determine if this trio of homicides is the work of the same killer, Lieutenant Joe Kenda needs to talk face-to-face with Jason Starks.
Coffee, please. Same. Officer, really glad to hear I'm freaking out, man.
Who are these guys, Jason?
The Mexican Mafia, dude.
Given the nature of Sherry Holmes' death in Elbert County, Kenda takes Jason's statement seriously.
Now, the Mexican Mafia is a street term applied to the Mexican cartels as a group. Now, are those people capable of murder? Oh boy. Yeah, they are. They not only do it, they like it.
But the more Kenda listens, the less believable Jason's story becomes.
You've personally seen this list?
Yes, sir.
How many names are on this list?
There's 34 names on the list, 20 men, 14 girls. Those two girls got killed, they were on it.
I hear this story, and I'm just like, come on. It's not that the Mexican cartels are not capable of that. They don't write down, first of all. They don't make lists. They got them in their head. They don't contain 34 names at a time. They might contain one or two. It's preposterous. And so is Jason.
You guys do not play. My friend told me about it. He stays in a hotel down there by the big green sign off North Nevada.
Jason.
He is higher than a kite. This is drug-induced paranoia.
Do you use meth, Jason?
Sometimes.
When drug addicts get together, they whip themselves into a frenzy of fantastic tales of how they are going to be the victims of former Russian agents in a whisper mode helicopter coming over Pikes Peak, and their whole mission is to kill them. It just goes on and on and on.
How many days you been up?
I'm not sure, man.
Did you use this morning? You used before I just came in here.
You need to get some sleep.
When you come down, think about this list some more. If you're still worried, give me a call. I'll come see you.
You have to talk to everybody, so we do, but then you have to make a value judgment. How valuable is this? In my mind, not at all.
With Jason Starks' story a dead end, there's still nothing connecting Kenda's case to the Holmes murder in Elbert County.
Why don't you go home for the night, head back to the bar and check in?
All right, Lieutenant. See you tomorrow.
As the sun rises over Colorado Springs, Kenda hopes his investigators have unearthed some additional evidence.
Hey, did you find anything else since I was gone?
Actually, we found a lot. There were 2 shell casings on the ground next to the car. Apparently, they'd been kicked around by the paramedics.
Shortly after arriving on scene, investigators discovered 2 9mm casings. Now they've got 2 more shell casings.
Were they same caliber?
They were 25s.
So that immediately tells you have 2 different guns that are used in this offense.
So we have 2 shooters.
I think so.
It's not one guy with 2 guns who's running back and forth between these victims. This is simultaneous gunfire. To have 2 shooters involved makes this very, very interesting.
But the new pair of shell casings isn't nearly as telling as the next piece of evidence.
Well, let me show you what we found in the bathroom.
There on the bathroom floor are blood-stained paper towels.
Was all that in the trash?
Yeah.
It was fairly close to the bottom of the trash can. It looked like someone had intentionally shoved it down into the trash.
Kenda is reminded of the movements of Paul Palachuk and Felipe Avila Ortiz just prior to the shooting.
You have customers saying the girls leave. At that point, Paul goes to the men's room. They think Felipe goes and stands on the front porch.
Could the blood evidence tie Paul and perhaps Felipe to the murder? Kenda has a novel idea.
The men's room door is right next to the back door. And the physical arrangement of this bar is the bartender and the customers cannot see the men's room door, nor can they see the back door to the bar by sitting in their normal position.
If someone wanted to exit out the back door, they could easily do that without being seen by people behind the bar.
So you could come and go however you wanted to. went to the men's room. Are they lying? No, they're not lying. They're telling you their memory of the event.
My assumption is that Paul Palachuk went toward the bathroom, but he went out that back door.
Felipe goes out the front door. They confront the two girls in the car, shoot the girls.
Came back cleaned up in the bathroom and returned to the bar.
This revelation prompts Kenda to question the validity of other eyewitness statements as well.
You have a bartender who says Ortiz never leaves the front porch because she sees his legs. Well, are you staring at his legs? Or are you emptying ice out of a bucket, making drinks for people behind you, pouring 2 draft beers? We're back to where we were to start with. Felipe and our man Paul Palachuk. So we're looking everywhere for these 2 guys. Why is neither one of you where you're supposed to be?
In speaking with friends and associates, detectives gained some valuable information about their 2 prime suspects.
Felipe is a middle-level drug dealer. He sells dope to the Palachuk brothers, who in turn sell it to customers. And then when they get that money, they repay Felipe.
That business hierarchy, coupled with the $2,500 Shirley owed Paul Palachuk's brother James, may explain why Shirley and Michelle wound up dead.
What if James owed that money to Paul and couldn't pay him? Shirley took it. What if Paul, in turn, owed that money to Felipe? Now that's something that works for me. Now you have drug dealers who have been ripped, and they can't put up with that.
Finally, 6 days after the double homicide,
officers see Paul Palachuk's car parked at a motel. They know he's there.
Police prepare to enter the motel with extreme caution.
There is no question this is an armed and dangerous individual, and you're going to take every advantage to not be hurt or shot or killed in the process of arresting this guy.
Police, open up!
Once you kill, it's just numbers after that. So when officers make that kind of arrest, it's with guns drawn.
What's your hand? Get on the door.
Colorado Springs police have just apprehended Paul Palachuk.
Go ahead and search the room.
One of 2 men wanted for the double murder of Michelle Vigil and Shirley Harper Swally.
You're under arrest for 2 counts of murder. Hey, I had nothing to do with that. I was in the bathroom when those girls were killed. You want to tell me about it? Well, my lawyer.
Do they need Paul's confession? Not necessarily.
A statement is icing on the cake, but you already have the cake.
Even without a confession from Paul Palachuk, Kenda has a good idea of how the crime went down.
I would suspect Felipe's first attempt is to get the money. And I would suspect her reply was, I don't have it.
Do I need to tell you how we handle problems?
After the argument, Felipe and Paul hatch a more vicious plan.
They approach the car, the girls roll the windows down because they know both of them.
Seriously, what is your problem?
And what happens next? There is no discussion. There is gunfire.
What's wrong? I told you.
Bang, bang, bang. That's what they want.
Paul Palachuk is convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and is sentenced to life in prison. But the case is far from closed.
Investigators tried to locate Felipe in Through the course of the investigation, it was found that he probably had taken off and returned back to Mexico. Now, if he were to return back to the United States, he would be arrested. There is no statute of limitations for murder.
As for the third victim, Sherry Holmes, the Elbert County Sheriff's Office finds no connection to Felipe Avila Ortiz and Paul Palachuk. But there's more to the story.
These two cases were quite related, not in a way anybody ever would have figured.
The man ultimately charged with the murder of Sherry Holmes turns out to be someone Kenda had suspected in the double homicide at the Lair Lounge.
Gino Yaquez, who is the boyfriend of Shirley, is the architect of the murder of Sherry Holmes.
Gino, who was so eager to help police solve Shirley's murder, was simultaneously trying to cover his own tracks.
If you recall, I said when Gino got out of that van, he had the look. Elbert County says I was right about that. He had more than the look. He had the willingness.
Rumor has it that Gino Jaquez is a mid-level drug dealer on the west side, and Sherry Holmes was one of his clients.
He began to get worried because there started to be some feedback to him that she was talking to the sheriff's departments out there.
They decide they're going to kill this girl, and he assigns one of his minions to carry out the task, who in fact takes this girl by force out to Elbert County, kills her, covers her in peanut butter in the hope that carnivores will drag her off into the sunset.
With the final pieces of the puzzle in place, Gino and his henchman, James Moss, are convicted of murdering Sherry Holmes.
Are these crimes connected? No, they're not connected. Are these people connected? Absolutely they're connected by their common interest in the sale, distribution, and consumption of illegal drugs.
I wished we would have had more time together with Mickey. I wished I could see her. I wished I could hug her and tell her how important she was to us.
Tell your children every day that you love them, because we don't know from one day to the next what's going to happen. I don't care how old they are, always let them know you care about them.
I think my mom was ashamed of her drug addiction. We learned a little while after her death that she had went and talked to our pastor, and they spoke for a while, and she ended up giving her life to the Lord.
Shirley made plans to leave town and enter a drug rehab program. But in a tragic twist of fate, she was murdered the day before her flight.
If she would have made the plane ticket for 3 days earlier, it's tough to say, but my daughters might still have their mom, and, the world might still have Shirley, because she was really a fantastic person before that damn drug got hold of her.
Lives wasted, just wasted. Shirley is trying to get back to where she was when she was a mother of two. Michelle is just trying to do the right thing. Look out for her friend. And they both die in a hail of bullets behind a bar at age 30 and 29. They would have had a lot of life in front of them. Not anymore.
A deadly shooting at an illegal after-hours club.
He's been shot twice in the stomach and once in the head. He never heard the shot that killed him.
The list of potential killers seems endless.
Anyone in the neighborhood could have been a suspect.
But as Detective Joe Kenda peels back the layers of this case, he discovers the crime could be an inside job.
Whoever committed this crime had a plan. As the story wears on and on, it becomes more convoluted and more confused. I've got to narrow this somehow. I want to investigate the worst crime. And after a lifetime of it, I see dead people in my dreams. The difference is it's not from the movies. I see real dead people. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
It's a warm and sunny spring day in the Rocky Mountains.
Hey, anybody here?
Yeah, it's open. Come on in.
All right.
A group of friends are gathered at a duplex in Colorado Springs for a game of cards.
How you doing? I'm great.
The homeowner, Jamie Foster, is nowhere to be seen.
It wasn't unusual for them to be there. At Mr. Foster's house, people were coming and going all the time. Friends of his would come over quite often, if not every day, to play cards. It was just a regular morning.
Hey. What's up?
Hey, guys. Hey. Where's Jamie at?
I don't know. He's not here.
Who's that? Is that Oni?
Mr. Foster had a girlfriend who had been living there with him. She would often be sleeping on a couch.
Most likely, yeah, she's always in there.
Figures.
But shortly after noon, a knock on the front door disrupts the game.
Been waiting for this all week. Dead in the middle of a road. Hey! Hey, how you doing? What's happening? Hey, y'all seeing Jamie? No.
Charles Miller was a mechanic who worked a lot with Mr. Foster and was trying to track him down to get some parts for a car that he was working on.
Oh, man, I gotta find him, man. We work on this car. We need the parts. Check with Oni. She's asleep in there on the couch. Oni.
They said go wake her up and she can tell you where he is. So he went over to the couch, shook her a little bit. Nobody woke up.
Miller carefully pulls away the blanket.
Oh my God!
Across town, a shrouded figure lies motionless on a gurney.
That particular morning, I was at the opposite corner looking at an autopsy of a suicide victim. While the autopsy is being conducted, my pager goes off.
Looks like we got another one.
Well, we have this apparent homicide, 742 East Rio Grande Street.
Kenda leaves the coroner's office and immediately makes his way to the crime scene. It's a cheerful-looking house in a working-class neighborhood called Hillside.
How you doing?
Lieutenant.
So what do we got?
We got Jamie Foster, age 59. He's the victim. 4 people here playing cards. One guy showed up later, discovered the body.
They've rounded up all these card players along with Mr. Miller. So when we arrive, we have 5 people in the same room as a dead guy.
Anybody make any statements?
They're all denying involvement right now.
All right, make sure you separate them and get them down to the station.
We'll do.
In every murder case, I'm always interested in who finds the body. How did you discover this crime? Because you committed this crime? Or because you had a legitimate reason to come by? It certainly makes them potential suspects.
With the 5 men on their way to the station, Kenda enters the crime scene. The body of Jamie Foster is lying across the sofa bed in the living room.
I look at him. He's been shot twice in the stomach and once in the head. He's been dead for a long time. He is cold and stiff. I see a relaxed person who never heard the shot that killed him. He was shot to death while he was asleep on the sofa. Any attempt to conceal this crime is either the most inept attempt in the history of man, or there's no attempt. The only thing they do is cover him up with a blanket.
Jamie Foster was 59 years old. He was retired from the military.
Growing up, he was just a regular boy. We got along real good. He was just a little older than I was. When he first left home, he just wanted to go west. He wanted money.
He had settled in Colorado Springs. He was well-liked and trusted.
He was my brother and I loved him. He was a good person.
In Jamie's pockets, Kenda finds his wallet
what shell casings?
There were no shell casings.
Are you signing for entry?
No, sir, not at all.
All right, let's take a look around.
Kenda examines the interior of the property, but sees no telltale signs of robbery.
There is no forced entry. There's no evidence of a fight. There doesn't seem to be any indication of any other crime other than the shooting death of our victim. So you have to ask yourself, why would somebody shoot a sleeping man? One of two reasons. He's going to get in the way of whatever reason they're there for, or they hate him so much they're just going to kill him. So the question becomes, is there something in this house that's missing? We don't know about.
Investigators scour the house for additional evidence.
We find absolutely nothing at all. No bloodstains on the floor. There's no indication of anything else in this house. Nothing.
But just outside the front door, Kenda discovers a potential clue.
We see scrape marks down the concrete steps of the house and drag marks in the driveway. Somebody dragged something out of here, something very heavy and something very tough. Are these scrape marks new? Or just they weren't noticed by anyone until I pointed them out?
The drag marks aren't Kenda's only discovery.
We start looking around and we find an enormous amount of alcohol. A refrigerator packed with beer, cartons upon cartons of cigarettes.
Here, check this out.
Jamie is either the world's worst drunk or he's operating a business out of this house.
Looks like this guy was running quite the store here.
That's what it looks like.
Thank you.
Kenda and his men turn to the neighbors for answers.
Ma'am, did you know James Foster?
Yeah, he was a really good guy.
Jamie Foster was a likable person that nobody had any complaints about.
But, you know, he was sort of the neighborhood purveyor. You needed liquor, you needed a car, you needed a card game, whatever it was, he was the go-to guy.
He was somebody who was seen as a businessman in the community. He was running this sort of pawn shop speakeasy out of his home.
What a case for you.
By Colorado law, last call is at 2 a.m., but locals knew that if you wanted a drink after hours, you could go to Jamie Foster's place to buy it.
See you, man. All right. Thank you.
Jamie didn't have a license to do this, of course. He is an entrepreneur in a neighborhood where one can be an entrepreneur and no one complains.
But dealing with people hard up for a drink in the middle of the night would certainly have its dangers. Kenda asks the neighbors if they saw or heard anything out of the ordinary.
So did you notice anything unusual last night?
No, not really. I mean, people come and go all the time here.
Do you ever know what kind of car James drove?
He's got a whole bunch of different cars.
He buys and sells them. What's the one he drives the most?
Usually a white Chrysler.
And that's the one you see him driving around?
Yes.
That car's not here. You never know with Jamie. I mean, it could be anywhere. Everything about this is vague, and one thing I don't like is vague.
Not taking any chances, Kenda puts out an APB for the missing car.
Lieutenant Kenda, dispatch. 24 Queen 31, can you verify? They need to put out an APB on a white Chrysler.
Could our killer have taken his car? Of course. And it might connect back to this. Then again, it might not.
News of Jamie Foster's murder travels like wildfire through the tight-knit community.
So any enemies, Sheila?
Not that none of them.
Before long, it reaches Jamie's ex-wife.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What?
Excuse me, who are you?
My name is Johnny Mae Lockett. I was married to Jamie.
I'm sorry to say that Jamie was murdered last night.
She is just dumbfounded, devastated. We talked to her. She paints the same kind of picture of Jamie, that he's kind of a wildly successful entrepreneur. He's always doing something to make a little money, and he brags to anyone that would listen.
No, I mean, he wouldn't hurt anybody, so I couldn't imagine anybody hurting him.
And that part I find interesting. Bragging about how successful he is and how much money he makes is probably not the smartest thing to do.
Jamie had really set himself up to be a target of a robbery because he strictly dealt with cash.
The more people I I talk to in this, and the more I get the repeat story of Jamie bragging about money, the worse I feel.
Anyone in the neighborhood who frequented his establishment could have been a suspect.
I'm developing a field of suspects that I can fill Yankee Stadium with.
The list of potential suspects may be long, but Kenda knows exactly where to start. He returns to headquarters to interview the 5 card players who were present when Jamie's body was discovered. Jonathan Moss, Al Luckhart, Jorge DeValle, John Baker, and Charles Miller.
We have 5 people in the same room as a dead guy. It certainly makes them potential suspects.
Kenda wonders if any of them had a motive to kill Jamie Foster.
We talk to them individually. Who are you? What are you doing here? They tell the same story.
I was playing cards.
Like we always do every week.
He never goes something like that.
They've done it for years. It's kind of adult daycare for them.
Do you normally go there when the owner's not in the house?
Oh, yeah. There's people there come and go.
They say that it's not unusual for Jamie to be asleep on the sofa. It's not unusual for Jamie to not even be present when they're there playing cards. They see nothing out of the ordinary when they come to that house that morning.
How'd you get in? John Baker let us in.
John Baker let you in. Well, he often does. He's here all the time.
Based on the coroner's findings regarding time of death, Kenda is confident 4 of the 5 suspects are innocent.
We're able to determine these suspects were not available to commit this offense in the time frame in which it occurred.
Kenda releases all the men except one, John Baker. He was alone at Jamie Foster's house before anyone else arrived.
Is it possible for John Baker to have shot the victim when he's asleep and then covers up the body in a poor attempt to hide it? Yeah. So here we are. We've gone from a room full of live people and 1 dead person to 1 live person and 1 dead person. That's a lot more intriguing to me. We're down to just 1. So we have a homicide of Jamie Foster, the neighborhood entrepreneur who operates a cash business out of his home, and we have a field of suspects that keeps growing exponentially.
While officers are searching for Jamie's missing vehicle, Detective Joe Kenda is downtown, grilling a group of suspects, 4 card players and a mechanic, who were present when Jamie's body was discovered. It doesn't take long for Kenda to hone in on one of them as his prime suspect.
John Baker was a close associate of Jamie's, has a key to the house. He's the guy that lets the other card players into the house. He's there alone.
The police at that point in time aren't sure was Jamie Foster alive or dead when his friend John Baker used his own key to get into the apartment.
John, I'm Detective Kenda. Just want to ask you a few questions.
Now, Baker knows how bad this looks.
I know you think I did it. I didn't do it.
Can you tell me what you were doing at Jamie's house?
Desperate to prove his innocence, John Baker walks Kenda through his every movement over the last 12 hours.
We were supposed to play cards. I got there early.
He decides to let himself in and wait for the card players to show up.
Walked through, I called out for Jamie, nobody answered.
He casually looked at the comforter and he thinks it's Jamie's girlfriend.
John Baker was not Jamie Foster's only friend. He had a girlfriend living with him.
What's Jamie's girlfriend's name?
Leonie Jones. Everybody calls her Oni.
Oni and Jamie had been boyfriend and girlfriend for a while. Jamie was an older guy. He was an established person, well liked. She was much younger, attractive woman, wanted to be taken care of a little bit. There was a match made in heaven.
John Baker would often find Oni asleep on the couch after another late night helping Jamie run his after-hours club.
Is it also normal that you'd be there when Jamie wasn't?
I got a key.
And where would Jamie be?
Jamie don't have no schedule. He comes, he goes.
That's normal. Jamie is a wanderer. He doesn't keep hours. He's up all night, up all day, naps in between. He's here, he's not here. So to him, it's a normal day.
But when John Baker tries to tell Kenda about the discovery of Jamie's body, he breaks down.
He cared about him a lot as a friend, and he was distressed about his death. He couldn't believe that someone would hurt Jamie, and that made him both sad and angry.
Do you think of anyone that would want to do something like this to Jamie?
You know, he started getting these weird hang-up calls lately.
Do you know who it was?
No.
Hello?
Nobody ever said anything, nobody ever made any threats, but the calls bothered him.
Hello? Just say something. Stop calling in here, please.
He started carrying his gun.
Do you know what kind of gun it was?
It's a .38 revolver.
The possibilities are endless about who's making these calls. It could be as simple as a wrong number.
Look, you little, I told you to stop calling here. When I find out who you are, I'm gonna bust.
Or it could even be the killer.
As Kenda mulls over this new intel,
come in.
A knock at the door provides him with another intriguing piece of information.
Thank you.
Skimming the contents of the medical examiner's report, Kenda notices that the bullet that killed Jamie Foster was a .38 caliber.
Would it not be an ironic turn of events if whoever our killer is finds Jamie asleep on the sofa and killed him with the very gun he bought to protect himself?
Kenda asks John Baker to accompany him back to the crime scene. He is convinced there is evidence in the house his officers have overlooked. Perhaps Mr. Baker can help him find it. Upon entering Jamie's home, John Baker finds nothing out of place until he realizes one important item has vanished from the living room closet.
Notice anything?
Yeah, the safe is missing.
What's that?
He had a safe in that closet right there.
There's an impression in the carpet, deeply pressed, where a heavy object has been, but it's not there.
Do you know what was in it?
Oh man, he said he had thousands and thousands of dollars in there. He had diamonds, he had Rolex watches. Have you ever seen the contents of the safe? No. Then we see the marks in the carpet where the safe has been dragged. And then to the concrete where the marks are really obvious, to a stopping place in the driveway.
Judging by the drag marks, Kenda knows Jamie Foster's safe is extremely heavy, which means the killer is either unbelievably strong, or there is more than one perpetrator.
So there is our crime. There is our burglary. Entry, kill the victim, steal his property. Baker says, in his opinion, there was at least $20,000 worth of property in that safe. But we're not exactly convinced. But whoever took it thinks it does.
Did anybody else know about the safe?
Everybody knew about it.
Great. Now we're back at home plate in Yankee Stadium again, and I'm looking at the stands and they're full. I've got to narrow this somehow.
Kenda's police radio begins to crackle.
I hear a unit call out with a white Chrysler relatively close to the location of the scene.
The description matches that of Jamie Foster's missing car.
I immediately pick up that radio.
10-4, before you approach the vehicle, make sure you wait for backup.
Hold that driver. There might be a gun in that car. Use caution. Wait for cover. I'm on my way. We have found a car that might be stolen, that might contain a firearm, it might contain stolen property, and it might contain a murderer. We have a homicide of a well-liked, well-known neighborhood person, Jamie Foster. Somebody kills him, somebody steals his safe, and we're no closer to finding out who that is than we were at the first moment it was discovered.
Possible the driver is armed.
But when dispatch informs Kenda that Jamie Foster's missing car has been located, it's a major break in the case.
So I'm anxious to get there so I can ask this person, what are you doing in a dead guy's car? You better have an awfully good explanation.
Kenda instructs responding officers that until he arrives on the scene, they need to treat unknown suspects with extreme caution.
Driver, put your hands out the window.
When a car is seen on the street and it's been identified as either having been involved in a crime or possibly having someone in it who was involved in a crime, the officers are going to approach it very carefully.
With your left hand, open the door slowly and step out facing away.
Multiple officers approached the vehicle. They were guns drawn.
Put your hands up.
The driver is extremely frightened by the activities of the police because they're treating her as a potential felon.
What's going on, officers?
She is scared to death.
MC, watch your head.
The driver right there?
Yep, sir.
Find any weapons?
No, sir.
Talk to him.
Yeah, go for it.
How you doing, man?
What's going on?
Where'd you get that car?
Well, Jamie Foster gave it to me. I'm thinking about buying it. When did he give it to you? Oh, a couple days ago.
Mind if we look in the trunk?
Go ahead, I was just on my way back to return it to him.
Go for it.
Anything?
It's clear, Lieutenant.
I felt the air go out of me.
I'm sorry for your inconvenience, ma'am. You let her go.
So the Chrysler doesn't have anything to do with this crime. It's just out on a test drive by a legitimate person for a couple days. At this particular moment, this investigation is extremely frustrating. We've got no place to go here that I'm comfortable with. We have an unusual victim who has an unusual lifestyle. Everything about this is complicated. Everything about it is confused, and so am I. Whoever committed this crime had a plan. The plan included that safe.
If he wants to move the ball forward, Kenda needs to learn more about Jamie Foster. He wonders if Jamie's girlfriend, Leona Jones, might be of some use.
We asked John Baker, do you know what happened to Oni? No, she hasn't been around here for a while. She have family? She's got a mother, lives here.
Dispatch finds an address for Leona's mother.
So we go see Mom.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
I'm sorry to disturb you. I'm Detective Kenda. This is Detective Moore.
What?
Do you know where your daughter is?
What has she gone and done now?
We just need to talk to her. Do you know where she is?
I haven't seen her for a couple of days. I think she's with her new boyfriend.
Jamie Foster?
No, Fidel something.
Mom does know that Leona lived with Jamie for approximately 4 months, but has not lived with him lately. She moved in with Fidel Ariano. He was a driver for UPS, a real nice kid.
You know what his address is?
I do.
Thank you.
Detectives contact UPS for Fidel's address. And Kenda makes the trip across town to see him.
You Fidel?
Yeah.
I'm Detective Kenda. Can we step inside?
Yeah. Morning.
He is a legitimate guy. He has a job. He works hard. He works every day.
We're looking for your girlfriend, Leonie.
She don't live here no more.
She has some of her things there, some of her clothes, but she's gone.
Fidel explains why their relationship broke down.
Fidel met Leona in some nightclub. He was very interested in her, but didn't pursue it because she was living with Foster.
My boys told me they broke up, so, I made my move.
Hey.
Hi.
What we doing? What are we celebrating tonight?
He begins to date her, and she moves in with him.
Everything was great. Then went south. Real fast.
What happened?
That's when Fidel reveals Leona Jones's dark secret.
And all of a sudden, his dream crumbles in front of his eyes. So he kicked her out.
I think he likely knew that she used some when the relationship started, but I don't think he realized to the extent. And the extent was pretty major.
Kenda is confident that Fidel is telling the truth.
His only crime is love is blind.
Do you have any idea where she might be?
Her stuff's still here, but I haven't seen her.
Once she gets in contact with you, make sure you give me a call.
For Detective Kenda, Leona's drug addiction adds another layer of mystery to an already fragile case.
When he said crackhead, my response was, oh no. That opens up a whole new arena. One crackhead knows another. Who did she tell Jamie had a lot of money in here? We just got another stadium full of suspects, including her. We have our victim. Jamie Foster murdered. His safe is missing. So is his girlfriend. Is that all connected one to the next? That's what we need to find out. But I suspect that maybe they are.
Detective Joe Kenda has also discovered that Jamie's former girlfriend, Leona Jones, was addicted to crack cocaine.
When somebody is a drug addict, you're vulnerable and you are at risk of people who may be involved in illegal activities.
It's very likely that Foster also got tired of her act when he realized that maybe not all the money wound up in his safe.
If Kenda's hunch is correct, then it's possible Leona Jones and some of her fellow addicts might have targeted Jamie and all the cash in his safe.
Drug addicts are always looking for their next score. To get that, they need money.
You can easily spend $500 or $600 a day smoking this dope. Where are you gonna get $500 or $600 a day? Not legitimately.
But the fact that Leona hasn't been seen since the murder raises the possibility that she, like Jamie, might also be a victim.
Right away, you start thinking, was she kidnapped? Was she harmed in any way? So they had to start working on that right away.
Police fan out across the city looking for Leona.
There's a lot of ways and a lot of methods you can use to find who Leona Jones is in the world when you need to. She hangs in the usual places. There's a certain number of motels that cater to the down and out personality.
I am looking for this woman. Her name is Leona Jones. She goes by Oni.
A lot of people know who she is. Nobody knows where she is.
I don't recognize her.
People like this don't know how to run. Their habits interfere with their running. They're going to be around. Maybe not today, maybe not tonight, but soon. We will find her.
Okay, thank you for your time.
In the meantime, Kenda wants to find out what exactly was inside Jamie Foster's safe.
If it is true that Jamie's safe contains jewelry, the usual method of disposal is a pawn shop.
The first problem for a criminal who has stolen property is, how do I turn this into cash?
Kenda's first stop is a pawn shop not far from the crime scene.
Oh, hey there. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
The owner, Bob Smith, has helped him in the past.
Got any unusual jewelry, pawns, anything like that? Last couple days?
Well, there was one guy that's a regular, comes in and never has any money, and all of a sudden today he was flush.
Pawn shops are like any other business. They develop regulars.
Hey, you still got that ring I've been looking at? I believe I do. Let's check.
But when a regular comes into a pawn shop and does something unusual...
Perfect. How much can you do for this one? I believe it's $200.
That they pay attention to. He spent about $300, and I don't know where the hell that guy got $300. He never has the nickel to rub together.
What are you buying?
A ring, $200, and he got back some of the stuff he'd pawned before for $100.
Do you know his name?
Yeah, Michael Parsons.
Do you have the paperwork on that?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Where the hell did Michael Parsons get that kind of money? Now that might be as good as somebody pawning jewelry, because the other thing that's supposed to be in that safe is cash.
300.
So we have a new name, Michael Parsons.
By examining the receipt from the transaction, Kenda knows exactly where to find Mr. Parsons.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
He and a fellow detective head to a row of low-rent apartments not far from the pawn shop.
Yeah?
Michael Parsons.
What?
I'm Detective Kenda, investigating the murder of Jamie Foster.
Murder? I don't know nothing about no murder.
Initially, Michael is all about denial. He didn't know nothing. He never met anybody. He never heard of Jamie Foster. He doesn't know Leona Jones.
Were you at the pawn shop today?
No, I wasn't at the pawn shop today.
How far do you want to go lying to me? Jamie Foster's dead. You know who he is. Everyone in this neighborhood knows who he is.
We have the records that prove you were at the pawn shop.
Michael, you seem to have lost eye contact with me. What's that about?
Look, all I did was help a girl.
What girl?
Oni.
He finally just blurts it out. He said, man, well, the other night, you mean the night of the murder? Yeah. I was out, on the street. And she came up to me and said she needed my help really bad.
What'd you help her do?
She wanted me to go with her to her ex-boyfriend's house to get something.
It's over here.
She tells Michael that Jamie's been mean to her and he owes her money and he won't pay her, so she's just gonna take his safe.
It's my money. It's okay.
Bingo. Where's Jamie? He's not here. In a way, she was right. He's not here. He's dead.
Did he beat me? Come on, man. I just need you to help me get it in the car. That's all I need. Come on.
But according to Michael Parsons, after transporting the safe to his apartment, Oni's plan hit a snag.
Look, do you have the combination?
I told you it's not my safe.
Nobody had the combination, so they started trying to bang on it with screwdrivers, hammers.
You're gonna have to hit it more toward the hinges. Come on now. You know what? Move. Here, let me do it. Let me do it.
This is not exactly a bank-level safe. If you can get a crowbar behind it, you can eventually get it off the hinges.
Michael says that eventually he was able to pry it open. He leads Kenda to the far side of the bed, where the safe lies in ruins.
What was in it?
Was it $1,000?
What?
How much is there?
You gotta be kidding me.
There wasn't even in excess of $1,000 in the safe, much less $10,000. There had to be a huge degree of disappointment.
She gave me $300. She took $600 or so.
That's it?
That's your share. The jewelry. I need you to take it to the bus station. I gotta get out of here.
Michael says he drops her off. And he hasn't seen her since.
There is no evidence to suggest that Michael Parsons was involved in planning the robbery or the murder. But Kenda's not about to let him off scot-free.
Transplant your bags under arrest for murder.
I already told you I don't know nothing about no murder.
I charge him with accessory to first-degree murder and third-degree burglary. He was an accessory to the crime, and he broke into the safe.
With Michael Parsons in custody, Kenda amps up his search for Leona Jones.
So we assembled an arrest warrant for Leona Jones for 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree burglary. She is listed as armed and dangerous, and we continue our search.
A couple days later, there's a break in the case, albeit from an unlikely source.
Kenda.
We get a phone call from a person who says they are Leona Jones and says she wants to surrender to the police. Excellent. We accept surrenders, and I'm more than ready to accept this one.
All right, I'll meet you there.
She knew it was just a matter of time before she was found.
Within the hour, Kenda is sitting across from Leona Jones at police headquarters.
I was told that you waived your rights.
Yeah.
And you're willing to talk to me.
Yeah.
So where you been?
She had taken a bus immediately after the robbery at Homicide to Kansas City. Her sisters wanted her to come back and try to clear her name.
But rather than coming clean, what Leona says next blindsides Kenda like a Mack truck.
I thought they were coming to get me. I've been so scared.
Scared of what?
The men who killed Jamie.
After all the confusion, all the nonsense that's gone on in this case, it feels very good indeed to be sitting across the table from the only person, in my opinion, that's involved in this crime, and that's Leona Jones. Her explanation for leaving town is that she was afraid of the people involved in this crime, that they would come back and find her and kill her.
That night, I was over at Jamie's, and he was asleep on the couch. 4 guys barged in and attacked me.
They knocked her down so bad she just laid there while they gunned Jamie down.
Get safe! Leona claims she recognized one of the men from the nightclub she frequents. His name is Rodney Little.
I don't know if Rodney pulled the trigger, but Rodney was part of it. Rodney had a gun. There was another guy there. I don't remember his name. And there were 2 other dudes, and I never saw them before ever. As the story wears on and on and on, it becomes more convoluted and more confused.
Then what happened?
They went outside and they had the safe and they dropped it.
Leona figures the attackers dropped the safe because it was too heavy or they couldn't fit it into their car. But Kenda's not exactly buying her story.
Don't you think that's odd that this busload of killers, guns blazing, wander off, leaving the prize in the driveway?
I don't know what happened. They panicked and they just dropped it and left. It was difficult to know what Leona Jones had convinced herself had happened.
You expect me to believe that?
That's what happened. Versus what really happened. Versus what she wanted police to believe because she was still trying to minimize her own involvement in this.
You can't get anywhere with someone like this. Nothing about her statement makes any sense at all. If she's not the worst liar on the planet, she's in the top 5.
That's the story you're going to stick with.
That's what happened.
Frustrated by Leona's lies, Kenda decides to check up on her story and pay Rodney Little a visit.
He is an experienced criminal. Rodney pimps girls. Rodney deals in stolen property. You name it, he's done it.
Rodney Little?
Yes.
What do you know about Jamie Foster's murder?
I don't know nothing about no murders.
Nothing at all?
No.
You know Leona Jones?
Yeah, I know Oni.
Oni is crawling the streets all day long trying to score money for crack.
When's the last time you saw her?
The other day, she came into the bar.
He remembers Oni talking to him.
Hey, I got an idea how we can make some money.
We should rob that old man and take his money.
All I need is your help with it. It'll be easy money. We can split it.
He didn't take that as a serious offer. He did know Jamie Foster. He knew he had money. It's not that he's above crime, because he's not. But he didn't participate in that crime.
And that is just you. Was that the last time you saw her?
Yes.
Where were you the night of Jamie's murder?
He has an alibi, not the best in the world, but he's got one.
I was at 2 clubs.
One was a Cloud 9, and there's another local club that people confirmed that he was at for a time.
Rodney Little's alibi proves Leona Jones is lying. Still, Kenda knows Leona will never admit.
I never talked to her after that. I locked her ass up.
Even though Leona won't cop to the murder, Kenda has a good idea of how it all went down.
I think that Oni went over to see Foster because she was desperate for money. He's asleep. She sees the gun. She takes the gun. She fires the gun. Because the opportunity presented itself. She covers him up. Why? I don't know. She goes and gets the safe. She's able to drag it out of her. That's as far as she got. So she found Michael. And she's on to the next plan of getting her hands on drugs. That's all it is. A moment in time for her, the end of Foster's life. How far would $600 get you as a crackhead? Maybe a day, maybe a day and a half if you were lucky. But that's it.
At trial, Leona Jones finally offers up the confession Kenda has been seeking. She pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 24 years in prison.
Jamie Foster died, by all appearances, because he looked like a source for money, a source for the next high, for somebody who needed his money. But rather than killing someone for $10,000, they ended up killing someone for a few hundred. This was a nice man. This was a man who served our country.
We all told him, James, that you're going to get killed up there with them people like that. He told us that, well, I'm going to die one day, and says, when I die, I ain't going to die poor, you know. So, which he didn't, but what difference do it make?
Jamie told exactly the wrong person on the planet that he had a lot of money in that safe. He told Leona Jones. She forgot about him 5 seconds after she walked away. What she wants more than anything else in the universe, another hit.
A trusted police ally.
Appreciate it, detective.
Found dead.
There is no more dangerous occupation than being a police informant.
It's unusual to see people shot dead on straight through the heart like that.
The perfect shot.
But what did the victim know? And why was he killed?
Jimmy says, hey, I've got some really good intel for you on a drug transaction. The next time anybody sees him, he's dead in the street.
To catch the killer, Lieutenant Joe Kenda must run down an unlikely trio of suspects and convince a terrified witness to break her silence.
Talking to the police was a no-no. Everybody's loyal to the code, and I definitely wasn't trying to be a snitch.
Homicide investigation is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to stay with it. Your bad guy is busy. He's running away, destroying evidence, concealing his involvement. He's doing all kinds of things. What are you doing? You better be doing something. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
It's a gorgeous summer night in southeast Colorado Springs. And a group of young people is making the most of the warm weather.
Hey. It is a very common thing in that part of town, especially for kids to gather in the parking lot of the convenience store. You can get soft drinks, and if you're old enough, you can buy beer. It's kind of a gathering place.
For Colorado Springs police, These impromptu get-togethers often pose problems.
If they're loitering in groups, it can usually become a problem. They would turn up their music on their vehicles and start partying, and then be drinking and drug activity.
Officer Bob Peltz and his partner are on night patrol.
We observed a group loitering in front of the 7-Eleven store, so we decided to pull in, make contact with them, and let them know that they had to leave. Let's go, let's go,
Let's go.
You know the rules. Move it along. Let's go.
But just as the crowd starts to disperse, a shot rings out from the other side of the store.
The worst scenario always goes through your mind first, that it was a homicide that had occurred.
The officers run toward the alley. They encounter 2 unarmed young men and a third man lying on the ground.
I got that. I got.
What's have you got? Yeah, if you could start me an ambulance to Afternoon Circle, Shelton Drive. That's our victim.
Oh my God. It's Jimmy.
Downtown, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is putting the finishing touches on his paperwork, hoping to soon head home for the weekend.
That particular night I was still working, even though it was 10 o'clock at night.
Lieutenant Kenda.
Dispatch informs Kenda of the shooting at the convenience store. Looks like his workday is just getting started.
Does that mean you're going to work until midnight or you're going to work until 4? No. We're going to work until we run out of things to do. That might be 4 hours or 4 days.
Okay, I'll be right over.
Kenda arrives to find the crime scene awash in police lights and curious onlookers.
There are housing units all around this area, some of them quite large. There's a lot of pedestrians on the street. There's a lot of people in cars.
How you doing? Good, okay. So what we got? And one victim. Found him right down the road. You have an idea on him? It was Jimmy Stevenson.
I know Jimmy Stevenson.
For years, Jimmy Stevenson had been one of Kenda's most valuable informants.
So what do you got for us, Jimmy? Anything new?
You know, there's a few people slinging out east, you know, and
4 sugars, no cream.
oh, appreciate it, detective.
Jimmy Stevenson is someone who has contacted the police on numerous occasions offering information on a crime that has taken place.
Sometimes his information was good, sometimes it wasn't, but he was reliable enough.
The existence and the use of police informants can be critical in certain kinds of cases.
A lot of times, those relationships actually become friendships, because you're not going to tell a cop something if you don't like him and you don't trust him.
Jimmy is a guy with a minor criminal history. He's not anything that you would consider to be a super bad guy. Jimmy has trouble holding his life together. Financially, he's in not the best shape. He was just a guy trying to make it and not doing very well at it. And I thought, you know, Jimmy, how did it come to this?
It's Jimmy's relationship with police that provides Kenda with a possible motive.
There is no more dangerous occupation than being a police informant. Snitching, as it's referred to on the street, is something that is frowned upon to the point of the threat of death.
Say what?
Kenda starts his investigation at square one, the spot where Jimmy's body was found, and the pool of blood left behind.
Very limited crime scene. There is one expended 9mm casing in the street. There is nothing else. There are no skid marks, no tire marks, no evidence of any other kind.
How many gunshot wounds? Hospital said just one. We found one casing. They said it was right through the heart.
Perfect shot. You can shoot people in the chest a lot and not kill them, but not this time. There couldn't have been a more fatal location for this round. So you're either dealing with an expert marksman or somebody who's just lucky.
Perhaps it was just luck. But is it possible that Jimmy was taken out by a hired gun?
Is there an exit one?
Just one in the back. We have an exit wound, which means we have a bullet somewhere. We don't know where.
I need everybody to spread out. Slug's got to be in this area somewhere.
Kenda's best bet is to recover the single 9mm bullet that penetrated Jimmy's heart, and hopefully match it to a murder weapon.
Lieutenant, I think I found something. What is it? Looks like a bullet hole.
We find a perfect mark in a fence that shows the bullet passing through it sideways. One that has already passed through something before it hit the fence. We check the yard immediately behind the fence, and we recover a 9mm slug from the ground. This is our murder round. So now we have a ballistic possibility if we can recover a weapon.
Pels, anyone see anything unusual tonight?
Kenda gathers the on-duty patrol officers to see if they spotted anything prior to the shooting.
Didn't you say you saw Jimmy earlier?
Yeah, when we were running the regulars out down by the phone booth.
One patrol officer tells Kenda that 2 hours before the murder, he and his partner encountered Jimmy and a group of teenagers hanging out in the same convenience store parking lot.
These two officers approached this group, told them they were loitering and they were going to have to leave.
Go home. You need to move on, all right?
Hey, Jimmy, I understand that now we've got a good time, all right?
Jimmy says, hey, I've got some really good intel for you on a drug transaction. And they said, Jimmy, we don't have time for this right now. Look us up in a little while. We're going to be here till midnight. Okay, man. Well, you stay out of trouble, all right? And then off he goes.
What intel did Jimmy have that might have gotten him killed? According to the officer, at that point, Jimmy and the rest of the crowd dispersed. But a man in a black car and a teenage girl by the payphone stayed put.
You're supposed to go. Can you not hear?
What? She was standing by the phone. She said, well, I'm waiting for a phone call.
You look at the dynamics of that event and you think, okay, that's why they won't leave, because he's got a drug transaction coming up and the cops are interfering with that.
Waiting on a call.
Yes.
Can you not read? It says no incoming calls.
Her response to that is, well, I can't read.
Move along.
So he says, hey, you got two choices. Leave or go to jail.
But as the black car drove off, the officers noticed something ominous.
The vehicle that he was driving had a license plate called Kingpin. A license plate that says Kingpin, in my opinion, would probably indicate that this person is involved in drug activities.
If this Kingpin character is dealing drugs, could he have murdered Jimmy to prevent him from snitching?
Kingpin. Yeah, one word, just like it sounds?
Yes, one word.
When you buy personalized plates in Colorado, as is true in every state, there's only one ever issued with that name.
Can you run a tag for me on a Colorado Bandit plate? Kingpin, one word, just like it sounds.
Dispatch tells Kenda that the Kingpin plate is registered to 17-year-old Marlon King.
10-4, Kenda. I'm gonna need you guys to canvass these apartments. We'll pay Mr. Kingpin a visit.
Yes, sir.
Though the crime happened in one of Colorado Springs' rougher neighborhoods, Marlon King, a.k.a. Kingpin, lives in the suburbs with his mother. Not the kind of place a bona fide drug dealer normally calls home.
Kingpin. Mrs. King?
Yes, can I help you, officers?
We need to speak to your son. He was loitering at the convenience store earlier tonight.
Sure, come in. Marlon! I told you about hanging out with those guys.
She lights into him. I've told you not to hang around with those people. I told you not to go down there.
Even though he's just been chewed out by his mommy, Marlon King maintains his tough guy front.
Now you guys harassed me in the parking lot. Now you want to take it to my house.
Listen, I don't give a damn how you spend your Friday nights. This is a homicide investigation.
Homicide?
When he understands the reason we're there, that we're there about a murder and not about a loitering complaint, he gets pretty nervous.
Why were you and that girl so insistent on staying at the convenience store earlier tonight?
Michelle? Hey, that girl wanted to stay, man. That girl is crazy.
Marlon says that after his friend Shell argued with police, he dropped her off at a club and came home in time for the curfew his mother gave him.
He went home before that murder ever happened. He doesn't know anything about anything.
Is young Marlon King a killer? Kenda doesn't think so.
He lives with his mother. He lives in a suburban neighborhood. He has no criminal history. This guy, Kingpin, may have the plate Kingpin, but nothing about his lifestyle indicates he's anywhere close to that. He is a wannabe, hang-around kind of guy, but he's not a criminal.
If you hear anything at all, you make sure you let us know.
Yes, sir.
We sure will.
I'm sorry you disturbed me, ma'am.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
With Marlon King ruled out, Kenda is no closer to catching Jimmy Stevenson's killer. He returns to the crime scene to see if police found any witnesses in the surrounding apartments.
Lieutenant. What is it? Found an apartment manager. She said she saw something looked a little suspicious.
Can you tell me what you saw?
I saw two guys getting some guns out of the car.
She says that she sees earlier that day 2 people moving guns out of a car and taking them into an apartment.
Did you know either one of them?
Never seen them before.
I appreciate your help. Let's get a couple more guys together and go check it out.
Could these gunmen have been the ones Jimmy was about to snitch on? Kenda gathers his men outside the apartment in question. Entering the building, they're preparing for the worst.
That area was a high-risk area for gang activity, street crime, drug sales, and the like. When you're about to make an entry in the middle of the night in a bad part of town with people you think have guns, a lot goes through your mind as that door is starting to open. Is this going to be gunfire? Because if it is, it's going to happen right now. So at this point in this investigation, we know that our victim, Jimmy Stevenson, has cooperated with the police on many occasions. We also know that people take a very dim view of that. There could be any number of people seeking revenge against him for being a police informant.
After eliminating Marlon King, aka Kingpin, as a suspect, Lieutenant Joe Kenda turns his attention to the residents of apartment 4B, who were seen unloading guns from the back of their vehicle earlier that day.
You pay attention when you knock on doors. We're investigating a killing involving a bunch of street people, a lot of whom are well-experienced criminals.
How can I help you?
We got reports that someone was bringing guns into this apartment earlier.
Yeah, those were my guns.
You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, I had them in my trunk and I just brought them inside.
You mind if we come in and look around?
No problem.
You gotta step aside and have a seat.
Kenda and his team are hoping to find a 9mm handgun, like the one used to kill Jimmy Stevenson.
So why were the guns in your car?
Me and my buddy went to go shoot earlier, out in the county.
What kind of guns are they?
I have a double-barrel shotgun and a couple assault rifles.
Just long guns.
They are shotguns, not handguns. We certainly have nothing to connect it to the crime.
But Kenda suspects the couple knows more than they're letting on.
You know, if you know something about this, you don't tell me. That's hindering an investigation. I can throw you both in jail. I can also run the registrations on those guns.
Oh, well, I do know something.
What is it?
Well, I got a call earlier from a friend. Hello? What's wrong? Tell me what's going on.
This woman had told her that she was at the scene of the shooting and saw the whole thing.
And I tried to get information from her. She got scared and she hung up.
What's her full name?
Ebony Jones.
Do you know where she lives?
She lives was upstairs.
Armed with this new information, Kenda moves one flight up.
I had actually gotten in the bed, turned the lights on. I looked out of the peephole and I saw two detectives with ties on, suits.
Miss Jones, it's the police. We need to speak to you.
I was tempted to not answer the door. I wasn't going to.
Miss Jones,
Can I help you?
we need to come in and talk to you for a minute.
Yeah.
Miss Jones, you didn't happen to see something tonight that maybe you weren't supposed to?
What kind of something?
I think you know exactly what I mean.
Nope.
No idea.
No.
Does that guy look familiar?
No.
Then they pulled out the picture of Jimmy lying in a pool of blood in the middle of the street.
But you were at the convenience store when the shooting happened.
Yeah.
Ebony tells Kenda she was hanging out in the parking lot with friends when she heard the gunshot and ran away.
I ran just like everybody else.
Ebony swears that's all she saw. But Kenda and his men aren't satisfied.
I think they saw that I knew more, and they kept telling me, you know more than you're saying.
We knew or realized or sensed that she was fearful for her own safety and also for the fact that she doesn't want to be an informant.
Talking to the police was a no-no. To snitch means that you could be putting your life out there.
We got a report that you made a phone call claiming you saw this shooting.
I don't know why you would think that.
Here we are doing this interview, and we have no bullets in our gun. We believe in our heart that she has critical information. But we also know in our head that we can't force it out of her.
We're going to leave now. But I don't suggest you go anywhere.
You want to let her stew in it for a while? Sometimes your mind is your own worst enemy.
I knew they were coming back because the last thing that they said is, you better not leave, don't go anywhere. Oh, I knew they'd come back.
With Ebony Jones on the back burner, Kenda is left wondering about the final tip Jimmy Stevenson was trying to give police. He heads to the hospital to speak with Jimmy's family, hoping they can lead him to a suspect.
Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson, I'm Detective Kenda. I'm very sorry for your loss. I knew Jimmy quite well. Do you think of anyone that might have done something like this to Jimmy?
We talked to Jimmy Stevenson's family, his mom and his dad. They are extremely distraught. And they are just dumbstruck by the fact that he's a victim of a violent crime. Who would want to hurt Jimmy, they say. Well, that's a $64 question at the moment. We then asked his sister, Stephanie Riley, if she saw anything.
Yes, in fact, I drove in the neighborhood tonight.
Stephanie says that just after the murder, she jumped in her car and scoured the neighborhood.
His sister was just devastated by this. So she began her own investigation.
Not long after Stephanie started looking for clues, she encountered one, head on.
She was almost run off the road by a white Chevy Monte Carlo.
The driver of the Monte Carlo had a message for Stephanie.
I killed that mother...
And those were his exact words?
Yes.
That happened tonight?
Yes.
Who is it?
A guy named Barney Davis.
For Kenda and his men, Barney Davis needs no introduction.
He's a person who I would describe as someone who's been a career criminal.
He is a drug dealer. He carries a gun. He is, in reality, a one-man crime wave. If he is awake, he's doing something that's criminal. He's very capable of violence and has demonstrated that in the past. Could he have killed Jimmy Stevenson? Without a doubt. So we have the murder of Jimmy Stevenson, who is a known informant. His sister, Stephanie Riley, believes that Barney Davis is responsible and goes so far as to say that she's been run off the road with him screaming at her that he killed the mother.
You think Barney did this?
Yes.
And why would you say that?
Jimmy was a witness to a shooting involving Barney.
Stephanie explains that a few months back, Jimmy saw something suspicious outside of a nightclub. Jimmy later told police that he'd testify to what he saw. And according to Stephanie, since then, Barney Davis has been doing everything in his power to prevent Jimmy from doing so.
Hey, yo, Jimmy, man, get in the car. I gotta holler at you, man. I know you can hear me, man. Get in the car. I just gotta talk to you for a second. Hey, man, you can't hide forever, Jimmy. I'm gonna get you.
Well, I appreciate the help. Again, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Stephanie's statement instantly propels Barney Davis to the top of Kenda's list of potential suspects.
If a person who is supposed to testify in an upcoming case winds up dying before their testimony, gee, you think that's going to focus on some connection to the person against whom they were going to testify?
Kenda needs to pinpoint Barney Davis's whereabouts at the time of the murder. But figuring that out won't be easy.
We did not bother to speak to Barney Davis because if you do, somewhere between the Barney and the Davis, he tells you to drop dead. So there's no point talking to him about anything.
Instead, Kenda asks his men to see if Barney had any run-ins with local law enforcement around the time of the crime. In doing so, he makes a crucial discovery.
Lieutenant, come in. You're not gonna believe this.
What is it?
The Barney kid, he was being arrested at the same time of crime.
He was involved in a criminal event and was being arrested at the time that Jimmy Stevenson was murdered. So his other crimes wind up alibying him out of a murder, which gives you some drift of who he is.
All right, thank you.
Not only can Kenda rule out Barney Davis as a suspect, he realizes that Jimmy's sister couldn't have seen Barney after the murder.
It's not unusual for witnesses who are under stress to provide authorities with misinformation. Sometimes they're just not right.
They probably think they're going to make the detective's job easier because maybe in their mind they really believe that's the person that did it.
The next morning, Kenda pays Stephanie another visit.
Stephanie, we know that Barney Davis had nothing to do with your brother's death. We also know that you weren't entirely truthful with us yesterday.
We explain that we understand clearly that you're very distressed about the loss of your brother. However, you know and we know that Barney Davis is not responsible for this crime.
Are you sure? He harassed my brother.
There's no way Barney Davis was involved, as he was being arrested for another crime at the time of your brother's death.
She was exaggerating her investigative leads in order to make herself certain that we'd do our jobs, that we would pursue her brother's killers.
I could have gotten confused yesterday.
Thank you, Miss Riley. We will continue to investigate the death of your brother, and I assure you we will arrest the people responsible.
We will find out who killed your brother.
Thank you.
We'll let ourselves out.
That promise weighs heavily on Kenda, especially with no murder weapon, no credible suspects, and no idea who Jimmy was about to snitch on just before he was killed.
You always go through these emotional ups and downs in murder cases, and it's the most maddening part of the job. Everything looks so good, it's all of a sudden so bad. Everything looks like it's coming to a close, and you're back at square one again. It is the nature of it. You have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and maintain your resolve.
Shortly after returning to headquarters, Kenda gets a break in the case.
Homicide, this is Kenda.
Hi, Detective Kenda. Last night, detectives came to my house in regards to a shooting. And I didn't know anything about it last night, but this morning
morning, my daughter, she kind of insinuated that she knew who killed him.
She says her daughter has information about this case. Her daughter is 15 years old. She's very concerned that some harm might come to her daughter by talking to the police. We assure her we will not identify her.
She knows who did it?
Well, she knows because she knows the girl from the neighborhood.
Are you positive she said it was a female?
Now, this is the first time we have anybody saying who might be responsible for this. And what makes it most unusual is she says a woman is. Well, my. Our investigation into the Jimmy Stevenson murder has led us to a 15-year-old girl. And she says she knows who killed him.
But in a surprising twist, the young witness believes the shooter was a woman.
Now, you consider those facts and you think, okay, Jimmy's an informant. Did he ever inform against a woman who used a gun in the past? The answer is no.
Thank you. This is a very brave thing you're doing. And I give you my word, I'll keep your name out of it. I just need you to tell me what you know.
Well, there's this rumor that 3 girls killed the man.
The girl tells Kenda she heard that Jimmy's shooter was her friend, Michelle Salazar, and that twin sisters Shonda and Shanice Banks were also involved.
Tell me about this Michelle Salazar. She's a friend of yours?
We used to be.
Well, Michelle is hot-headed, and Michelle this and Michelle that.
They said that Shell shot him.
What'd you call her?
Shell, that's what she goes by.
Shell? That girl's crazy.
And I see it. That's the girl out of the black car that's at the convenience store before Jimmy Stevenson is shot down in the street. So this is all starting to gel a little bit.
According to the girl, word on the street is that Jimmy owed money to the Banks twins.
Jimmy appeared to kind of always owe some people some money.
This girl only hears this information that these 3 girls are involved in this murder. She is extremely confident that that rumor is correct.
How were you so sure that that's what happened?
The girl tells Kenda that on the day of the murder, she and Michelle Salazar got into an argument at school. That afternoon, Michelle and the twins stopped by her house to send her a message.
Come on, bitch, you wanna fight? Come on, what? Why are you so scared? Why are you hiding?
On the day of the murder, Michelle Salazar calls out this girl.
You can talk, but you can come out. Come on.
In the language of the street, that means that Michelle is challenging this juvenile to a fight.
Your mama looks like come on, let's get out. Come on. I don't give a if you're hiding. I can shoot you from over here.
The girl is going to get involved in it until she realizes that Michelle has a gun.
Your mama's not gonna protect you. Why are you running from us? Come on, come out.
The girl says the twins each had .357s, and Michelle had a 9mm handgun. Michelle's 9mm is the same caliber as the weapon used to kill Jimmy Stevenson.
Well, thank you again for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenda may be one step closer to catching his killer, but without corroborating evidence, his hands are still tied.
The information that she provides is not sufficient for a warrant because it's hearsay.
What Kenda needs to make his case is a bona fide eyewitness, and he knows just who to call.
We believe that Ebony Jones has a lot of knowledge about this case. The trick will be getting her to provide it. She is fearful of these people with good reason. She watched them kill somebody.
Ebony!
Thankfully, Kenda has taken the precaution of bringing the landlord along.
Wait out here, please.
Ebony!
We know you were at the scene of the crime.
I don't know anything. I didn't see anything.
They said to me, we know that there was a confrontation that happened and that you saw this happen?
We believe you have knowledge of this, and we want to know what it is. And we're tired of asking you this.
Come on, you come with us.
Talking to the police, I did not want to. You're on the side of town where everybody is loyal to the code, and I definitely wasn't trying to be a snitch.
But Kenda isn't taking no for an answer. And Ebony eventually agrees to cooperate. At the station, Ebony is escorted into the interrogation room.
The purpose of taking someone in for an interview is to take them away from their comfort zone. If they're in their own house or in their own neighborhood even, it's comfortable ground. Bring them to our ground.
When I got there, I thought we were just gonna sit in the front room and talk about it, and that's it. And they kept opening doors, and we kept going further and further back. I was terrified.
She watches us go through 6 locked doors to get to an interrogation room. She is now psychologically aware there are 6 doors between her and Sunshine.
All right, Ebony, no more games. You know something about this you don't tell us? We're gonna charge you as an accessory to this murder.
Unless you want to get arrested for being an accessory to first-degree murder, you better start talking to me, and you better start telling me what's up.
And he said, we're fully prepared to arrest you and charge you. And it's going to be the same thing as if you were a part of the murder. So, basically what he's saying is, you tell the truth or this is it.
Okay, I saw what happened, but you can't make me go up in court and testify in front of everyone. They will kill me.
Listen, we can protect you. We can move you somewhere, we'll pay for it. We'll make sure that you're safe.
And that was basically the turning point. I talked and I kept talking. I didn't stop talking.
I've got a good idea who's responsible for the death of Jimmy Stevenson. But our eyewitness, Ebony Jones, is withholding information.
Lieutenant Joe Kenda has just told Ebony that if she doesn't tell him who shot Jimmy, he'll charge her with his murder.
We had very little information to lock her up or throw her in jail for anything. She wasn't aware of that, so we said we have good information. We can charge you as a conspiracy to murder. It's all about eliciting information from her and doing what's necessary to get it, because we believe that she knew what she was talking about, and she did.
I had big concerns for my own safety. I remember hearing about several people that were shot for talking to police.
We explained that we can protect her. We even offer to move her into another apartment so that she has a different place to live. And that seems to calm her to some degree. After we explain we will do this for her, she tells us what she knows.
We'll make sure that you're safe. Just tell us what you saw.
The twins, they're drug dealers. They fronted him like $40 and he never paid up.
Here comes Jimmy.
What's up, ladies?
Where's the $40?
40 bucks. Oh, shit. I got y'all Friday.
You don't have $40? You can't come up with $40?
I got it for you Friday. You know I got bills to pay. I got expenses, girl. I got you Friday, all right? Y'all know it.
Friday.
Friday. I got y'all. You know I got the money.
I'm not kidding.
It's none of that.
I'll shoot your ass. I don't give a... I'll shoot you.
I got you. I'm paying y'all. All right? Don't worry about it.
Sorry, Mother.
You got to keep in mind that in that world, $40 is a lot of money. Will they kill for that? Yeah, they will. Because they don't want to lose another $40 to the next guy that rips them off.
We were just gonna go to someone's house and drink and just have a good time.
Ebony says that she occasionally hung out with Michelle Salazar and twin sisters Shonda and Shanice Banks.
What we usually did would go to one of the friends' home and we would just drink beer, have a good time, and kick it. I had no idea whatsoever what was going to happen that night.
the drive over, Ebony rode with one of the twins, Shonda. Michelle and the other twin, Shanice, were riding in the car in front of them. A few minutes later, Michelle and Shanice suddenly pulled over.
Wait, why are we stopping?
That mother.
They see Jimmy walking down the street. There's nobody around. There's nobody on the street.
Where's our money, Jimmy? Where's the $40?
I don't have it right now.
It's already Friday.
But Lex, I'm gonna have it when you know I'm good for. I just don't have it.
Rip them off.
I just don't have it right now.
You can't come up with $40?
He kept saying, I don't have anything, I don't have anything. When? I want my money now, was what was being said. Right now.
With the wrong girls.
Look. I promise you, I'll pay you.
I don't give a...
Michelle is really agitated and is ranting and calling him names. She's threatening him, we're gonna shoot your ass and all this other stuff. And the twins aren't saying much more than we want the money back.
Time's up.
Then all of a sudden, guns came out. Jimmy really was freaking out. I could see him didn't know what to do, whether he should run or whether he should stay there.
Promise you, you'll get the money. Just give me a little more time, ladies.
She says she watches Michelle point the gun, holding the gun with both hands. She describes that as saying she looked like she really knew what she was doing.
I saw him dropping in slow motion to the ground. Then he fell face down. And I just started running as fast as I could.
Jimmy was dead within moments.
In this case, it was a lucky shot. It was a lucky shot. I don't think little Miss Michelle had been out to any target practice.
She's not an expert marksman. She's just got a gun in her hand. She pulls the trigger because she's angry. It's more, I'm going to scare him, and she scared him to death.
It was really an awful thing to see. You can't get blood from a turnip. You can't make it give you what it doesn't have. No way is it reasonable. The whole thing was senseless and stupid. The whole thing, over $40.
With Ebony Jones's statement in tow, Kenda finally has the evidence he needs to file charges against Michelle Salazar and the Banks twins.
We write 3 warrants for first-degree murder, and we plan to arrest them.
But no sooner does Kenda have his hands on the arrest warrants, the case takes an unexpected turn.
Lieutenant Kenda.
All 3 of those girls did turn themselves in as soon as they heard there were warrants out. They were all 17 at the time, and I think they did definitely try to play the minor card. I'm 17, I'm a juvenile, you can't charge me as an adult.
They make no statement. They're arrested for first-degree murder and placed in juvenile detention. However, because of the nature of the violence of this case, that a deadly weapon was used, and these people are 17 years old, they're not 12, we approach the district attorney, and the district attorney agrees to charge these people as adults.
Shanice Banks pleads guilty to conspiracy to distribute cocaine and is sentenced to 8 years probation. Shanice's sister Shonda takes her chances at trial. Prosecutors are unable to prove Shonda had prior knowledge of the crime. She is acquitted on all counts. Michelle Salazar doesn't get off quite so easily. As the trigger woman, she is convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. For Ebony Jones, her decision to tell the truth went against everything she learned on the street.
Eventually, I did the right thing. At first, I didn't think it. Like I said, I was young and dumb and crazy. But I did the right thing. I know I did.
though Ebony doesn't regret informing on her friends. For years, the murder of Jimmy Stevenson weighed heavily in her mind.
For a long time, I thought about this. For a long time, what happened haunted me. But I was just on a mission to change my life and get it all behind me.
In exchange for her cooperation in the case, Ebony was relocated to a new city where she was able to start over with a clean slate.
I relocated and I got involved in the church, very much so, and I tried to help in the community. I just did the best I could to be a good person. I was able to finally stop thinking about it.
It was a sad thing to me. There's a lot of history with Jimmy Stevenson. Jimmy is a police informant routinely. He engages in the most dangerous game you can play on the street, being an informant among people who hate informants. And yet in the end, he dies over 40 United States dollars at the hands of a teenager. Doesn't make much sense.